You can see the vertical stabilizer has been added on to the fuselage here. I'm going to be permanently mounting it here shortly, now that the magnetometers are mounted. I have a hole drilled for the strobe cables, and also the light, to power the light on the end. I've only got the magnetometers installed, so you can see them here. They're installed with brass bolts and brass lock nuts, which works pretty well. I have an extra nut underneath the aft end in order to elevate it a little bit there and give it an angle so that it matches the AHRS, which is mounted right there, that big gold box. So they need to be even in all axes, so that's why I had to go ahead and elevate one corner of it. So it has a little bit of a nose down appearance, but that way it matches the AHRS. Well, got the gear mounted. The airplane's now resting on its gear rather than on the front stand. I left the front stand attached though, so that it gives a little weight to the front of the airplane, making the tail a little bit easier to lift. I'm doing this mainly so that next weekend we're going to try to put on the wings temporarily, at least, so that we can do some wiring and finish up the wing incidents and all that fun stuff. So this will help us be able to move it a little bit quicker and position it so that it's not in the way of my hangar mate's airplane, and make sure they can still get out. As you can see, the vertical stabilizer is now attached permanently. I have some torque seal applied to the bolts here after I torque them. I'll try to make sure all my bolts have torque seal on them after I torque them so that I can quickly identify which ones still need torquing and which ones don't. Next step will be to put the rudder on so that I can finish up the wiring of the strobe and navigation light back there. Also worked on a couple other things this weekend. You can see the static lines there in the back, the white lines. Decided to go ahead and get those set up. We'll look at those closer here in a minute. I also decided to go ahead and put in the rudder pedals, at least temporarily, so I can see how the rudder cables interact with with everything else. You can see the static line coming out over here on the left, excuse me, on the right side of the airplane. And then it travels all the way back to the actual static ports back there after splitting off for the AHRS unit. Those are quick connect connectors from Steinair. They actually work really great, and it's very easy for me to adjust these and put in new pieces of tubing as required. Going to the static ports there, having a little T, and then coming forward. I originally started with this on the left side, but ended up swapping over to the right side because the pitot tube is going to be coming in on the left, and I'm already pretty tight, so I decided to go ahead and start running the pitot line. You can see it running diagonally there through the seat ribs. Going through the same grommets, I have the strobe cable going through. And this comes back here, the red line, and eventually we'll connect to the AHRS unit right there. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that yet, but that's the idea. I'm going to have to also send the static line forward to get to my alternate airspeed indicator. So I'm probably going to be running that up the middle, but I don't have enough red tubing to do that, so I'm going to have to order some more before I go that far. Just as a word of advice, I would recommend that you don't rivet or pop rivet the seat pans in until you're ready to go. I have the back pop riveted in, and it probably would have been best to not do that and just go ahead and Cleco it in for now. Same with the front under the seat pans, just because I ended up routing the strobe cables through there when I wasn't originally planning on doing that, and now I also have the pitot line going through there. So word of advice, don't put those in permanently until you're pretty much done with all your wiring.